Hello, all you wonderful folks out there. Welcome to the Into the Song podcast, a place where we spend some quality time with a songwriter discovering what makes their song tick. I'm Doug Harsh, your faithful host. Please join me as we go into the song. On today's podcast, I interview a very talented songwriter from Goshen. Faybrianne, who may already be familiar to many in the area, has released a recording of her songs entitled Yarrow, which also happens to be the title of the song we are talking about today. On the way, we'll discuss, among other things, folk songwriters from the days of old, her desire to bring healing through her songs, and our friend Nate Butler, who you might remember from an earlier episode. I think you're going to really enjoy our discussion as we go into the song. So first off, let me say to you, thank you so much for being a part of not just our Michiana Songwriting community, but also for saying yes to be a part of the podcast this afternoon. And welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be on here. Thank you so much for asking me. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. I was thinking back, like, how did I meet you? And I remembered that you and I both did we were part of like filming a commercial for something. I think it was like a fair, I want to say like an arts fair or something. Does that sound familiar to you?
I think that was it. It was, I can't remember what the name of it. It was a festival that had gone on in the Mishawaka area, and they were trying to revive it.
Yeah, that's it. A festival. That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
And I never heard how that came out, if it was valuable, what they did with it.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything either. No news is good news, right?
Right. It was nothing bad, at least, right?
Yeah.
So for those who are listening, we were, I think, endeavoring to be musicians who were playing music. and incidentally, I think we're providing the soundtrack to things as well, and there was a lot of other activities going on at the same time we were playing, and it was pretty fun, as I recall. Fun. It was just kind of improvisational and kind of just off the cuff, and had fun with it. Mm-hmm. And I have been following you kind of from afar and seeing when you have gigs posted and stuff, and definitely like what I've heard of your music, although I have to say that I haven't heard a ton. I don't think I've ever seen you perform a whole live show or anything like that, but definitely have heard some of your music on the internet, as they say, and definitely enjoy it for sure.
Thank you.
So, I want to talk about your song, Yarrow. When I first saw that name, my mind immediately went to Pete Yarrow. Do you know who that is?
I don't know.
Pete Yarrow was Peter in Peter, Paul, and Mary. Have you heard of them? They were like a 60s singing trio that did folk music.
It sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah, so little known fact, you've probably heard of this song. You probably sang it when you were in grade school or something like that, Puff the Magic Dragon.
Yeah.
He actually wrote that song.
Oh.
But after I, heard the song and listened to the lyrics and everything, I realized it was more about plants in a place, like yarrow plants.
Mm-hmm. For his song or my song?
Your song, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. His song, Puff Magic Dragon.
It was about plants. So
yeah.
About plants too.
Yeah, definitely about plants. So yeah, and so I'm like, I'd never heard of a yarrow plant before, so I looked it up, and apparently they symbolize healing and inspiration. Does that have anything to do with how they ended up in your song or the title of your song?
Yeah, it has everything to do with it. So Yarrow is the name of my album that I released in 2018. And I named it Yarrow after this song. And this song was just written in a place where I was trying to find healing in some situations and just growth. And Yarrow just seemed to fit right. So I took it.
Now, let me ask you this, because I'm trying to remember the exact lyric. I don't have that pulled up in front of me right now. Oh, yeah, I do. I've walked through the Yarrow fields at daybreak. Have you actually done that?
I haven't. So I use a lot of just analogies in my songs.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it is like walking through like healing after the dark could also is what it means to me. But with music, it can mean so many different things to like every individual person. You can have 50 people in a room. It can mean something different to each of them.
Very cool. One of the first things that I think people will notice when they hear your recording of it is it's fairly a cappella. I mean, there's percussion,
Mm-hmm.
but beyond that, there's no supporting, chordal structure that's going on there.
Yeah. So with this, I mean, this song, it's a funny story because I wrote it in the spring of 2018 and recorded a couple months later. I wrote it on guitar and I wasn't sure if it was even going to make the album. And Nate Butler is who did my recording from Nimblewit Studios. And we worked on the other songs and I was like, man, I would really love to do this song like kind of acoustic. Um, there is a band, let me, Boom Forest, I was blanking on their name. They have a song called No Lion and it's just acoustic and it's so beautiful. And so I wanted to kind of mimic that kind of feel with this song. So we just recorded vocals and then Nate helped a lot because he's a drummer, just bringing in some other elements as well. And I'm really happy with how it turned out.
What was the sort of genesis of the song? And what I mean by that is, like, usually when you're writing a song, there's something that sparks the thing in, and it's sort of the thing that sets you off on your way. What was that for you with the song? Do you recall that?
Yes. So there's a lot of things with this. Just healing, I think. I wrote this song. I went and my friend had a cabin by a lake and he let me use it. So I was there for a couple days by myself, just kind of processing things. And this song really, I wanted other people and myself to find healing through. There's a line that says, someone's lies, they vandalize the part of your heart that hopes. And that doesn't only happen once in your lifetime. But when it does happen, I think it is good to like deal with that. And so I think that was kind of the premise of everything.
Now that you mentioned that, you kind of went away to a cabin, I sort of hear that in verse 2. Take me to places where I can hear my own thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
where I can see the dragonflies and hear the bullfrogs. I love that imagery because whenever you do that in a song, it immediately drags somebody into that place, right? So they can
Yeah.
sort of experience it with you.
Yeah. And dragonflies symbolize change as well. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I did
Um,
not.
so it's just the like in your life, you will change and you're going to go through the ebbs and flows. And like, we aren't the same people we were 5 years ago. And so it's kind of like being able to sit with your thoughts and sit with yourself and learn to change and learn to go with the changes as well.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I love so many of the images that you have in here. And I love this line almost most of all. I'm only afraid of change because I don't know what it brings.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
it's, I mean, it's so obvious and so simple and yet so profound at the same time.
Yeah.
The other thing that I noticed about the song, and I'm wondering if you had this in mind when you started out, you have this continuing refrain that at the end of each verse, right, that basically says, I'm going to go do something. In spite of everything that's happened, I'm going to go do something.
Mm-hmm.
The first two verses, it's, I'll hold my breath and I'll go diving into the deep blue waters of the unknown. And then verse 3, you kind of return to kind of before where you are now. I mean, when you thought through how you're going to put this down, was there more than sort of a flow of consciousness coming out of you, or did you intentionally sort of start with kind of here's where I am, and kind of now I'm going to think about what could have happened before this? But it's also interesting that you're pulling somebody else into the story too.
Yeah. So it was written about a certain person that was in my life. So it's kind of like processing that, but also processing, okay, this situation happened. So where am I going to go after this? A lot of my community that's around me knows that I am a deep person. So I'm like, we're just going to dive into all of our emotions. Yeah, I think it's fun to just kind of take people deeper than where they might normally go.
That's excellent. And so again, for those people who are kind of thinking about structure and everything, no chorus.
No, I don't like doing things by the rules.
Tell me how you feel about the rules in the sense that, like you said, you don't like doing things by the rules. And I know a lot of people say that. Like, I think rules are intended to be broken. Do you think they provide you value in any other way than something that you can rebel against, or?
Oh, absolutely. I do think that they are absolutely valuable, but sometimes with art, because for me, songwriting is art, you can like look at it and you can see the rules and follow them. Or it can be like, oh, but what if I did something different? And not for every song necessarily, but just to have a couple unique songs.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, there is no doubt that variation is extremely important in art and in life, really. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we tend to feel like it's death when everything becomes the same all the time, you know?
Yeah. But also you can kind of decide like, oh, that did not work. You can be real with yourself, hopefully.
One more question. This is bigger than just a songwriting question, but this song that you had me listen to, and that we're talking about today, you named your recording after that. Can you tell me why you did that?
I think that it's because I wrote it at what felt like a pivotal point in my life. And so I wanted to honor that growth that I had gone through, honor that processing that I allowed myself to sit down with. And I want other people to also hopefully hear this album and get healing themselves through it, even if you don't say it that way, but it will just help them process through whatever they may be going through.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time this afternoon to kind of, sit down on the internet with me and talk about your song. Like I said, really like it. And I think people are going to definitely love hearing more about it and from you. So thanks again.
Yeah, thank you so much, Doug, for having me on here. I really appreciate what you're doing and starting with this.